Hey everyone, my name is Jack. I'm a 23-year-old real estate investor and soon-to-be attorney, and on this channel I cover a variety of topics as they relate to real estate, investing, the markets, and pretty much everything as it has to do with personal finance. So if you like that sort of content, be sure to have a look around the channel, and if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. But today I want to talk about real estate investing virtually, and whether you can invest in real estate virtually at all. Can you invest from real estate from home? Well, the short answer is yes, you can, but there are a variety of different risks and challenges associated with investing virtually. And when I say virtually, I'm kind of combining both actually investing completely virtually, where all you have to do is click your mouse and maybe type a few words in, and that's all you got to do. But I'm also combining that with investing out of state, where it's really passive, but there might be some in-person involvement that you're going to have to do. But why would you want to invest virtually at all? Why wouldn't you just invest in your local market, you might ask? Well, there's a couple reasons that you might want to do that. The first is that your local market might be very, very expensive to where you're kind of priced out of that market, and you might not have enough money to actually go into a real estate deal in your local market. That's a very common problem, especially out in the West Coast and in the big cities. And even if you can afford a deal in your market, it might be overly expensive to invest in from a return perspective. Your money could be invested elsewhere, and it could be making a lot more money than if you invested it in your local market, where deals might be very expensive or extremely hard to come by. As investors, we should always be looking for simple ways to maximize our returns, since that is going to pay big dividends in the long run, pun intended. If investing in a different market means you could double your returns, then you might want to consider doing that. It depends on the logistics of it, so let's see what you can actually do to invest in real estate virtually. A very simple way to invest virtually and out of your local market is through a REIT. A REIT is a real estate investment trust, and you can think of it like a stock for a portfolio of real estate, where a real estate company will go and buy a bunch of properties, and they get some special tax treatment if they give all of their dividends practically to their investors. That's really what being a real estate investment trust, or a REIT, entails. It doesn't really offer unique benefits to shareholders, but it gives the company itself some significant tax benefits if they follow specific rules, like paying out almost all their dividends and being sure that they only invest in real estate with the majority of their portfolio. But as an investor, they are a really solid way to get a diversified portfolio of commercial real estate especially, but there are REITs in all sorts of different real estate products, from mortgages to single-family homes to agricultural REITs. There's all different types of REITs for every single industry within real estate. Many months ago, I actually did a video going over a REIT portfolio that I created that kind of encapsulates a lot of the different sectors within real estate, again, from student housing to normal multifamily housing to industrial, retail. Every single sector you could probably think of is in this portfolio I made. It's not all of them, and I'm no financial advisor, so definitely do your own research, but if you want to take a look at it, the video's up above. Now, publicly traded REITs are really just a type of stock, so they're very liquid, so that's good and bad. It's good in that you can take your money out very quickly if you want to, but that also means that other investors can do that too, which can quickly depress the price, and then you'll be losing on that investment in the short run at least. So you have to keep that in mind when you're investing really in any sort of stock, REITs included. You got a lot more short-term volatility to worry about. But really, every investment's going to have some sort of short-term volatility. It's just how much you're willing to deal with. Now, if you don't want to trade in publicly traded REITs, you can actually use platforms like Fundrise, that's a very popular one, that offer unique REITs specific to their platform that aren't really available anywhere else. They're called e-REITs in this case. So if you want to take a look at different REIT products, something like Fundrise might be a good thing to check out. I have some money with them, though I admittedly haven't made a ton with them since I haven't been in the platform very long. I do plan on making a video about Fundrise at some point once I have a little more track history with them, so I can show you all the features with it. But they're worth checking out if you're interested in real estate investing virtually, that is, and you want to diversify your real estate portfolio with commercial real estate. I'll include an affiliate link in the description below if you're interested. But in short, using REITs is entirely virtual and allows you to build a real estate portfolio without ever having to leave your home. All you really need is an internet connection and a brokerage account, and you can get going. But what if you want to invest in the properties directly? You want to own title to that property. You don't want the REIT to own it, and then you get paid dividends from that. You want to own that property directly. Well, you still have some options even if you want to invest virtually. One method of doing this is by buying turnkey properties. Now, a turnkey property is one that's already rented, rehabbed, and ready to go, and the company that owns this property will sell it to an investor, and then the investor gets a stabilized property that they don't really have to do much with, and it should bring you some cash flow. Of course, you're not really going to get great deals most of the time since the turnkey company's taking a big profit at the beginning, or at least they should be if they're trying to run a profitable business. But if you're really just trying to get into real estate passively, then turnkey real estate is a decent option to go for since it really doesn't take a lot of work. You just got to find a reputable company, of course, since not all turnkey companies are created equally. One quasi-turnkey company is Roofstock. They're an online platform for investors to sell their properties to other investors mainly, since many of the properties there are already occupied. You can think of Roofstock sort of like a Zillow or a Redfin for investors specifically who are looking for tenant-occupied units that already have tenants in them. This can save some headaches of actually trying to rent out the property, but you are inheriting someone else's tenant in many cases, and you didn't necessarily do the vetting on that tenant, so you don't really know exactly where they came from in many cases, but it doesn't mean you can't be successful with it. It's just an added risk. But I definitely recommend at least checking out Roofstock if you're interested in that sort of thing, or you can try to find a quote-unquote true turnkey company that actually rehabs the properties for the investor, and then they take their profit that way, and the company is handling all that rehab. It's not necessarily investor to investor. But the last way to invest virtually, or really semi-virtually, is what I've done, which is investing directly in the properties yourself. I currently live in Chicago, Illinois, but I own a rental property in Indianapolis, Indiana. It's a single-family home, and I've covered it many times on this channel before. I'll include a full breakdown to that property right above right now if you're interested in seeing all the numbers, pictures, everything. Want to see what that deal looks like. But the reason this isn't totally virtual is because I think you should really always see a property before you actually buy it, at least when you're just starting out, and you might not be too familiar with an out-of-state market, for example, or really even familiar with what a good real estate deal looks like at all. Being able to see it in person does make a huge difference. One alternative is to have an agent or some sort of inspector on the ground in that market that can maybe do a video walkthrough with you or something to give you as close to a physical presence as possible. But the point is, you definitely want to see this property in as many angles as possible so that you know what you're getting into as much as possible. You can definitely get pretty far by just looking at listings every day in another market online, and you can really learn a lot about the pricing and what's kind of going on in any given neighborhood if you're really paying attention to any given market in the US. But at some point, you're probably going to want to have a physical presence on the ground there, whether that's you or through someone else, so you can just get a real firm grasp on what's going on in that neighborhood or in the actual property that you want to invest in. But after you actually buy the property, if you play your cards right and you get a good property manager and you have good systems in place with your property manager, you can really turn real estate investing into a very passive gig. This is because a good property manager will take care of all the day-to-day problems with a property. You just have to be careful that you find a good property manager and one that communicates clearly with you and that you can always have open communication with and who's very responsive ideally. That's how my deal is now. I currently cash flow a couple $100 a month and I barely have to do anything with it. All of the initial work was done with the property, just had a few minor fixes here and there that the property management company pretty much took care of without me having to do much, except throw a few dollars at it, of course. But now it's very, very passive. We're looking to release this property in February, so everything's going very smoothly and I really haven't had to do much. And that's the great thing about real estate, is that if you find good property managers, if you create good systems, you can really scale a portfolio without you having to deal with all of the issues associated with a property day in and day out. It's not a good way to scale. It's a good way to maybe get started and learn the ropes, but at some point, if you're trying to build a big portfolio, you're going to have to start delegating tasks. And I think investing out of state is a great way to encourage that process of creating those systems. So to answer the question, yes, you can invest in real estate virtually, sometimes totally virtually if you use REITs or even turnkey companies, but you can also kind of do a semi-virtual route where you're investing in a different market, maybe away from home, and that's a great way to find deals in other states, but you might have to get some physical presence there just to get truly comfortable with that market, at least initially. But once you get the deal underway and you know what you've gotten into, you're pretty much done as long as you have good systems in place and have a good property manager and all the great stuff associated with real estate that I always try to cover on this channel. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments if any of you invest out of state or invest virtually, whether it be semi-virtual or totally virtual. I'd love to know and love to hear about your experiences, so definitely leave those below. But otherwise, guys, that's all I've got for today. If you like this video, please like it since it helps the channel out a lot. And if you like this sort of content about real estate, investing, the markets, and pretty much everything as it has to do with personal finance, be sure to subscribe so you never miss any new updates since I post new videos every single week. And check out my book, The One Property Retirement, about a simple strategy for building your retirement nest egg using real estate. It's great for beginners who might be unfamiliar with the real estate process, since it takes you from the very beginning, from running the numbers and vetting the deal, all the way to the closing table and beyond, with maintaining and renting out the property. If you guys read the book, definitely leave a review on Amazon since that would help me out a lot. But until next time, take care.